Okay, so next up we got one DTG which has an automatic table, and the problem with this printer is obvious if you take a look at the pump over here. So the holders on the capping station are broken, so the capping station is lifted up over here, so it's impossible for the head to go back into a ready position. So at least what we're gonna have to do, and I'm thinking that we're gonna have to clean the pump or replace the pump depending on the state, but I think we're gonna replace the pump, or maybe if the pump can be cleaned we can just replace the capping over here with one that is not could be used, but the one that is not broken, so it can stand properly in the position. And also we're gonna have to check the state of the head, maybe do a bit of a cleanup here and there to see if everything's gonna check out. So to get to the pump we will have to disassemble basically everything and pull the chassis out, so we could be doing some repairs to the pump and other stuff if it's needed. But let's start with disassembly of the casing. That shouldn't be much of a problem because it's not that complicated printer, but still replacing the pump is not such a big deal, but to get to the pump is a bigger problem. So there's gonna be a lot of disassembling to reach the pump, but it is what it is. We have to do it because the printer's not gonna be functional before we do that. And also it's not good that the head is standing in the middle of the printer and not on the pump, because also it dries a little bit faster. It can be like that for some time, but it's really better if it can be covered by capping from beneath, which it cannot be right now. But that's where we come in to fix everything. Alright, so we said that we're gonna pull out the chassis, and already I see some problems with the sensor for the lifting mechanism. This cable is not sitting all the way in. It's like it's half connected, so probably the owner tried to figure out why the lift isn't lifting up and down, but it's not the lift problem, it's a problem with the capping, because capping has to go down. As it is right now, it can't really go down, so we have to replace that. See if all other stuff check out. So we can disconnect the sensors on the lifting mechanism, and we can disconnect the cable for the motor of the lifting mechanism. It's the red connector over here. Also there's a motor that drives the encoder front and back, so that has to be disconnected. And then of course when you're pulling out the chassis, every time you need to disconnect the flat cables over here. Okay, so that's disconnected on the left, disconnected on the right. We have to unplug the power supply for the pump motor and the motor that drives the head left and right. This is the one right here. Okay, so we got that disconnected. We have to remove this top. Now let me just see how that is put together. All right, so we just need to unscrew these two screws that are holding this top piece. So I'm guessing that the chassis will come out with the power supply, maybe, because it's possible that power supply and the motherboard are connected to the chassis. I'm not sure. We're gonna see if that's gonna be possible. Alright, so the chassis is fixed with a couple of screws on each side, and maybe it will be good to remove these pieces also, but let's see. This is not even fixed for some reason. It's flapping. Okay, this was easy to remove, definitely. Then maybe we should move the other one too. Doesn't seem to be fixed for some reason. Not sure how this is. It's probably fixed with this bottom part over here, but that's not really a good solution. Maybe we could tear this one off, because this right one is also teared, and put a couple of screws for the ease of mounting when we are doing the repairs. It's kind of glued to the bottom, which is not that good solution, and I can't really move it away. And I can't move it inside because of the switch, so we do need some kind of a all right, so that's the switch. Now we should be able to. All right, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a few screws over here, and the same thing on the right, because this already broke. So we're gonna have to do it whether we like it or not on the right side, so might as well do it at on the left as well. Okay, so we got the free access now for the chassis to come out. This is the wasting tank that we're gonna disconnect over here. Okay, so this is the solution with the wasting tank that is in front instead of somewhere in the back. Alright, we need to disconnect this sensor over here for the encoder. I'm not sure if the power supply is fixed over here. Probably is, but what we need to do is to unscrew this screws that are holding the chassis in. Right, so that's one. Is there any other? I don't think so on this side, probably just one. And two on the right side. So let's see. There's one in the back. So I'm thinking that the control board over here is standing by itself on a carrier, and I'm right about that. But also what we're gonna have to disconnect is this cable going from the motherboard to the control board over here. That's one more thing that we do have to disconnect in order to get the chassis out. All right, let's see. So this is cable 3, right? So something is still, these are the cables for the something is still holding the chassis inside. Alright, so maybe this got stuck over here. I have to pull that up. Okay. So USB cable. Everything is disconnected over here. That's okay. And also power supply has to be disconnected, and for the time being we're gonna lift the system up. Right, this is some kind of I don't know what this is. We're gonna probably hold the waste ink bottle inside. All right. Okay, so we got that out, and actually we're gonna have to pull the pump out. So you already seen how that is done, but we can show you that also, because that's the main problem. Of course we're gonna check the head also, what's wrong with the head. If it is something wrong with the head, I'm guessing that at least CMYK should be working, because the user is not really using the printer for it's not using it for printing with white ink. So I'm guessing that should be functional, at least as CMYK. So you see, you have to remove this front piece first, then you got one screw inside and one on the right side, and you got two more behind. One is holding the ground wire, and the other is simply screwed to the chassis. Alright, so we got those out. Okay. 2 more on the back. This is the one for the ground wire. Okay, and one completely in the back. And we got the pump out also. So that is, it is probably pretty much clogged. You can see this how should we call them, plugs of dried ink inside over here and over here. Probably this this piece where the pipes intersect is also clogged, so that's gonna most likely gonna be replaced by a new one. And now the only thing left to do is to pull out the print head, so you already know how that is done. And we're gonna check if so you can see that there's not these 2 screws are original, but this one is not, and probably the owner broke the threads on the head, and that's not good because the head could be possibly not be standing straight, which is especially problem with the UV printers. But since this is a DTG printer, it's not that important. And as you can see, I cannot pull the head out, and that's because the head and the carrier are not cleaned from beneath for a long time. So basically the head got sticked on the sides with dried ink. We're gonna have to clean that up also, so I have to use a bit of a force to pull it out because it's not gonna go other way. Maybe even push it from beneath. Yeah. So you see this part sticked to the carriage, and this is not good. Oh yeah, there's a lot of ink over here from beneath. That's gonna have to be scratched down. Alright, so let's see if it's gonna... What's the state of the cable? Not that good because these pins are already shortened over here. They're not folded, but there are the top of the pins broke off, so it's not folded. So let's say it's still usable, but that's not a very desirable situation. So let's see if the head's gonna have any flow through it, and maybe it's gonna, I don't know, this could cause problems because the ink is went beneath this metal part, so it's kinda keeping it up a bit, so that will decrease the distance between the I don't know, if you print shirt or something, is gonna be at least 1 millimeter or even more further away from the shirt, which will spread the flow of the ink, and that's not really desirable. So maybe it's gonna be best, if the head is functional at all, maybe it's gonna be best to remove this metal piece over here. But you'll see how that is done if we decide to do that, because it's lifted too much up away from the nozzles. Okay, let's see, we need some alcohol. We're gonna do a quick clean just from below to just moisturize nozzles a bit, and let's see if there's any thicker particles already inside this manifold. We're gonna pull them out so you can see that's the yellow is doing pretty good, black not so much, but it is budging. All right, let's see what's the state of the magenta. Not that good, so probably we're gonna have to throw this head away because it's pretty bad condition. I just checked the middle channels, but if the CMYK, one of the channel, is clogged, then basically the whole head is not usable. Of course, the middle ones are clogged. One is clogged, one is could be functional, but I don't see it. Nope, not gonna work. Let's see the CMYK. So this is the cyan. That's pretty decent, but as I've said, if only one CMYK channel is missing, that's not gonna do us any good. Magenta is like, I don't know, like 50% maybe. Could be usable, but you'll then need to increase a lot of percentage on the ink on the magenta, and the carbon or the black is I don't know how many nozzles is that, probably 2 or 3, I don't know. So yeah, this head is not gonna do us any good. Yellow is okay, but basically what we have is functional cyan and yellow, so we're gonna have to replace the head also. This is not gonna work, and it's not, even if it is functional, this metal part over here and stuff are not really in a good condition, so it's not a bad thing to change it because this has some mileage on it. All right, and the next thing we're gonna do, since there's already kind of hard to move this carrier over here, Probably there's a lot of junk and garbage inside, not inside the bearing or the rings, but there are some aluminum rings over here on the side of the bearing, and when there's a lot of ink that is picked up by the carrier going left and the right, so this junk over here that is piling up here on the rings is slowing the carrier down, and that all makes the motor that moves the carrier left and right heat up, and when it heats up to the point where the thermal protection on the motherboard starts to work, then it slows the carrier down, or the carriage slows it down, and you can print, I don't know, for like 20 minutes one shirt, and that's really not what we want. There is one thing besides replacing the whole chassis that might help, especially if you are using this chassis as an UV printer. You can remove these rings over here and squeeze out of the chassis a few more prints before slowing down, because if it prints like 3 or 4 prints before slowing down, you can still turn off the printer and turn it on, so it's still gonna be working without slowing down. But what you need to do is to remove this rings over here, and there is a way how to remove them, because if you start moving them like this when the head carrier is in the middle position, you might scratch the shaft over here, the main shaft, and the moment you scratch it and the place where the carriage is going over, the scratch is gonna also slow down the carrier. So you have to disconnect the rings from the carrier and move it to the right and to the left, right to the right, left to the left, and try to remove it just at the ends of the main shaft over here. So you have 2 hooks holding the rings on the carrier over here, so you have to release them, but also that's not that big of a deal. The thing is that you have to release it also on the upper side over here. That's a bit of a harder thing to do, but as you can see, can be done, but it's not easy. So when you release the ring, you move it to the right. You must be careful not to scratch the shaft, and also there's a, I don't know how to call it, sponge or something similar, which is cleaning the shaft, and as you can see, it's pretty dirty. So we have to remove that so the carrier can move a bit more with less resistance on the shaft. Let's get rid of the left one. So you have to have a very thin screwdriver over here to lift this piece up to release the ring. Move it to the left, pull out the sponge, break it, tear it off. Alright, so this is the thing that is slowing, when it piles up, it's slowing the carriage down. Okay, so now you have to tear off the rings, and it's also kind of tricky stuff to do. But that's why I have this videos, if it's gonna be helpful for you. So don't try to cut it off because it's too hard to cut it off. But what you need to do is to use the principle of metal fatigue to break the ring, and then you pull it out. So if you scratch the shaft on the end, it's not that big of a deal because it's, I don't think it's even covered with carrier ring. But if you scratch the middle position of the shaft, that could be a problem. Okay, so I've broke the ring and I have to pull it out now. All right, so I've bent the lower part over here and I'm gonna pull it out now. Okay, so if I've scratched anything, I've scratched it just on the end right, and that's not gonna be a problem. All right, so let's get rid of a left one. Again, I'm not trying to cut it off, I'm just trying to fatigue the material in order to break it. So you have to spin it around a couple of times to this one is a bit more resistant because and you have a bit less space to work. Okay, I got it broken and now I need to get it off. I'm gonna have to bend it a little bit more. All right, so it fell off. This is what you get when you break it. All right, so already you can see that there's some junk over here that needs to be clean, which is slowing down the carrier. Okay, so we've cleaned that up. So now it would be a good time to, there's some over here, lubricate, because we've opened up the rings. And we're just gonna add a bit of lube inside on each side. All right, so it already moves a bit more easier, which is good. And there's probably gonna be a bit more junk over here because now the oil is dissolving the ink and other stuff inside the ring, so something will come out here on the sides. Over here we're just gonna clean that up. All right,